Okay, so welcome to the next episode of Better Players, Better People. I'm joined by a good friend of mine and a former colleague, Aaron Persico. Welcome, Aaron.
Yeah, salam alaikum. Buonasera. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for giving up your time. So, as mentioned before we hit record, since I started this podcast, I've been hoping to get you on and get some time from you, and I know you're a busy man. Mainly because the aim of this podcast is aimed at parents and educating them on different issues around youth sport, but my mantra is to develop players and people, and I will share that this particular hashtag slogan, Better Players, Better People, was stolen from a New Zealand rugby coach who said, great men make great All Blacks. So it's really nice that we can speak this evening, spend a bit of time talking about your journey from school in New Zealand to professional rugby in Europe to now education and coaching at the highest level in Dubai. So the first thing I'd like to do is just if you can just give me a brief recap of your journey to date from school in New Zealand and how you went from school, little boy playing rugby in New Zealand to coaching the UAE National Team in the UAE.
Yeah, no, cheers. Jay, awesome to be here. It's a privilege to share my sort of journey to where I am now, and it's good to see I'm ahead of Mr. Main, Danny Main as well.
Yeah, I've tried to get him on. We'll have to wait till he comes back from Scotland.
So been now in the UAE now for 8 years, but my sort of upbringing in New Zealand, come with a family of 3, so I was the oldest of 3 kids, and growing up in New Zealand, we didn't have much, but at the same time, my mum and dad, made sure that we were well grounded, heavily involved in sports, heavily involved with the school, the church, and really was lucky enough to go to some pretty good schools, to be fair, which gave me some good grounding, and played a lot of sports, mainly rugby in the winter, cricket in the summer. I tried football. My Italian genes didn't come through there, but loved, playing different sports. But for me personally, growing up in New Zealand, and also not too many people know the difference in cultures in New Zealand with a lot of the Māori and the Samoan, the Tongans, and a lot of them play rugby. And what they do bring is a lot of passion, a lot of culture, learning their hakas, learning their dances, and their culture is all about bringing people together, celebrating their cultures through dance, through songs. So by experiencing that culture, you spend a lot of time with your friends. And in New Zealand, there's not a lot of things to do there. Like, it's a pretty open playing field where there's not a lot of resources. So you have to be creative. So what that does bring is just a lot of maturity, playing with older brothers, younger brothers, just constantly getting the ball on the field and just playing in the rain.
You're painting the dream there, Aaron. I think that's what we're yearning for now, isn't it? I think when our kids growing up in Dubai, surrounded by skyscrapers, what you're describing here is the open spaces.
Yeah, correct.
The opportunity to play.
Yeah, like when I often go back to New Zealand, like I just often compare a lot of the kids in Dubai or the UAE, so my experiences to the kids back in New Zealand, and there's some very skillful players in the UAE because they play a lot of sports. They play a lot of sports, but I guess the difference for me is just probably a bit of maturity from the kids back in New Zealand, to be fair. They just got a lot of life skills. They used to their mum and dad being out, and the kids have to bring up the other younger siblings, cook dinner for them. So that brings us a lot of life skills, a lot of life experience. Not saying that our kids in the UAE don't do that. However, they're sort of forced upon them in New Zealand. So
what was school like then, Aaron? We've sent some students back to New Zealand schools and Southern Hemisphere schools, and some of the parents will be kind to update me and send me pictures through. And I'll get pictures of these boys playing on a field in front of what looks like thousands of other kids watching the game. Was that something that you experienced in school, playing sport? Yeah,
I was very fortunate enough to go to a school called St. Patrick's Silverstream. So we had 600 students. So that was our secondary school. So was that year 9 to year 13? And 600 students, and 200 were boarding schools. boarders. So a lot of those boarders came from the rural area, so they came in the countryside, and most of the 400 day students, we came from the city fringe area. But it was a Catholic school, so a lot of our priests, they were our rugby coaches. And there were a lot of our mentors as well. For example, I had we played our first 15 games, so I was very fortunate to be involved in the first 15 at year 12 and year 13s. And we had 6 traditional matches a year. And our traditional matches we played on a Wednesday afternoon. And the whole school stopped at 1 o'clock, and everybody used to come down and watch our games kicking off at 1:30. And whenever we played a team that played away, all the school would come along, and it would create an awesome atmosphere. And the fact that there'll be 3,000 kids watching, the parents on the sideline, both teams doing the haka, and then the students on the sideline will be doing the haka. We just create an awesome atmosphere, and I was probably more nervous playing first 15 rugby than I was playing test match rugby.
Really?
But
so how did you go from that to representing Italy?
So finished my 2 years at St Patrick's Silverstream, and I just loved the game. So my first sort of just my goals in life, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to achieve post school. And I often tell a lot of the kids I wasn't very good at rugby, but I just loved it. And I just loved learning. I loved playing with my friends. And what that did teach me was just to work hard. There were a lot of other talented kids in my first 15, in my school group. Rugby came to them quite easily. They were able to score 2 or 3 tries or get the ball and beat 2 defenders or kick the ball. And it came to them pretty naturally. But for me, I had to work really hard at learning how to tackle properly or to running lines or be fit. So that sort of made me just appreciate the game, and whatever I wanted to achieve, I had to work twice as hard. So
just want to jump in there, Aaron. You've just mentioned that one of the things that you mentioned at the start of that description was you love the game. And then you went to explain about how you worked hard. Do you think it was working hard, or do you think you were just spending time doing something you love, playing a sport you love? When does it cross over and become working hard? That's the question I'm asking. When does it go from loving it to working at it?
I guess the reason why I loved the game was because it gave my family a lot of they were very satisfied at how I was playing the game. I always just loved seeing my mum and dad on the sideline just with a big smile on their face, and I know they worked pretty hard to get me to play the game. And then secondly, just spending time with your friends, hanging out with your friends. And then thirdly as well, just the fact that rugby's a pretty physical game, and if you want to get any success or outcomes, physically, mentally, you have to be at the top of your game. So to be able to combine all those 3 factors for me to enjoy the game, and for me to keep on getting better and to keep satisfying my mum, I wanted to just keep on working. So when I was going to those dark places where I couldn't go any further, I'd always just sort of picture my mum, how happy, or my mum with my brothers, and them watching my games. So they were just giving me that extra motivation. We call it the hurt box. When you're hurt and you run, you can't go any further, and you're trying to compete with your opposition. You just mentally just prepare. Seeing your family and
it's a really humble opinion. Really humble. I suppose that's a humble approach. What you've described there in terms of your school and traditional schooling, which mixed the religious aspect, and the priests were the coaches. I'm sure the values they instilled as well would have helped develop this humility. But I think for kids and players to hear that, looking over to the sideline and seeing your parents smile because of the way you're playing the game, whether that be how skillful you are, but mainly and more predominantly probably the effort you're putting in. I think back to the sport I played when I was a kid. If I looked over and I seen my mum and dad smiling or thumbs up, that's a real humble approach. I think that was quite important just to pick up on there. I know you just mentioned it quickly, but so what was next then? Obviously so playing high level rugby in school. Playing
high level rugby at school, and I was quite lucky through my school career, the best advice I got from one of the priests, Father Walls, actually.
Okay.
He always talked to me about all our age groups, our year 13 students that were leaving the school, to have a sporting goal and a career goal. And at year 13, I as much as I loved the game, I didn't really have a career goal. And then he sort of took me aside and he goes, well, what do you like doing?
Yeah.
You know, take rugby aside, what do you like doing outside of rugby? And I said, I quite like my community. You know, I'm very proud to come from a little area called Lower Hutt, and I like helping people. And he goes, okay, that's great. That's a great start. Well, have you thought about maybe being a teacher? Have you thought about being a police officer? And I thought straight away, police officer, yes. Yeah. I love that type of environment, being in a team environment, helping out my community, and it involves some physical activity. Yeah. So I said, okay, great. Well, the best thing to do is to maybe when you're a little bit older, start going through that process, going through the police space. So 2 years out of school, after school I joined a rugby club, a rugby academy, and they gave me a job as a building apprenticeship, just to get me a little bit older for me to apply for the police force. So I had 2 years in New Zealand where I was playing great club rugby, learning a lot through older players. Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the best values in New Zealand. It's just constantly older players just passing down their knowledge, welcoming them into the club, and then passing down with saying, hey guys, you know, you have to work hard here. You have to work hard off the field. At the same time, you have to work hard for the jersey. So it's not going to come easy to you, but we're here to support you. So it is a lot of players now that come from the school environment where they're training 6 times a week. You know, they're in academies, there are teachers looking after them. Then when that transition from school to club is, a lot of players sort of get lost. Yeah. And I was quite fortunate to be involved in a club environment that got pretty well looked after in terms of just giving me opportunities to strive for as a career, and opportunities to strive forward for as a rugby player. And rugby was going reasonably well. I always knew I had an Italian last name, Persico, but really didn't look too much into it. My grandparents that came to New Zealand, immigrated to New Zealand after the Second World War. So my grandfather in Sorrento in Napoli was a fisherman, and after the Second World War, a lot of Italians went to Australia, but my grandfather was a fisherman, so he came out to Wellington, New Zealand, with a boat full of other Italians, but that boat full of Italians didn't really integrate the Italian culture. They sort of wanted to adapt the New Zealand culture. So unfortunately, I didn't get taught any Italian. Didn't really get taught too much about the Italian culture, but all I did remember is probably one Sunday a month we'll go around to my grandparents' house and there'll be 3 plates, 3 knives, 3 forks, and we're sitting down for 3 hours eating. You know, our normal Sunday.
They kept that part of the culture.
They kept that.
The good bit.
the good bit. And then hearing our grandparents arguing, like they'll never speak to us in Italian. But when they wanted us not to hear anything, you know, our grandparents would speak Italian. So from that journey and being the age of 20, I wanted to start the process of applying for the police force. So,
at 20?
At 20, 20, and I was ready.
What's the priest said? The priest said 5 years, was it?
Yeah, correct. So 2, sort of between that 3.
Experience, 2 or 3. Okay, so you're ready to apply for the police.
I went through that police college process and did my first interview stage, and then went through my second interview, and they said, mate, you're too young. Go overseas, you're 20 years old, get some life skills, go explore the world. New Zealand's always going to be here, the police is going to be here. Go overseas and get some life skills. No, I want to go to the police force. So they said, no, go overseas, come back to us. And I said, I was really down about it because I had my mind set up being a police officer and playing rugby. But I had an agent in New Zealand, which he signed me up at a young age when I made some okay teams, but he only really got in contact with me when he wanted an increase in commission. So I had an agent that I'll meet probably once a month, just seeing how it's going in the academy. And he said, so I thought I'd give him a call. I said, all right, I'm going to use rugby as a vehicle to get me overseas, because I don't know how else I'm going to go overseas. Yeah. So I called up my agent. I said, hey, mate, I know it's been a long time between drinks, but I've decided I want to go overseas. He goes, oh, I thought you said the police force. I said, no, I want to go overseas.
Is this a 20?
It's a 20.
You're 20, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he said, but have you got some Italian heritage? I go, yeah, I have. And he goes, well, actually, there's an Italian manager travelling around New Zealand looking to recruit half Kiwis, half Italians, because Italy has just qualified for the Six Nations. Okay. I said, yeah, let me just double check my grandfather. I wanted to make sure. And he goes, if you have got an Italian passport, come meet me next Wednesday at this hotel. We'll meet this Frasco Tony from Rugby Viadana, and also the Italian Federation, travelling around New Zealand looking to recruit. So bang, caught up my Italian grandfather, goes, mate, no, we used to call him granddad in Italian. Are you sure I'm eligible for an Italian passport? And he goes, yeah, I was born in Italy, in Sorrento. Yeah. You're still eligible for an Italian passport. So great. They just gave me some reassurance that I was able to go overseas and be essentially an Italian player. So rocked up to this meeting with my agent, with Mike Fitztimanu, who was my agent, and Frasco Tony from Rugby Viadana, and went in there not really that confident that anything would come about from it. But as a young 20-year-old, I sort of went to the meeting and I said, yeah, I would like to go overseas, play some rugby for 2 years, and potentially come back to New Zealand. He goes, no. You come to my club, you stay. You stay for my club, and then I'll push you for the Italian national team. I said, okay. So what would my day look like? And he goes, in the morning we do gym, we have our pasta for lunch, then we go out, play rugby in the afternoon, and then we go for pizza. I go, great. Where do I sign? He goes, don't sign, just shake my hand. I go, perfect. Contract-wise, what would that look like? It goes, we give you apartments with some rugby guys, a car, and you get 2,500 lira, which is back in 99, so back before the Euros came in. And I didn't know how much that meant, but I thought, oh, great, fantastic. So when he talked about the Italian national team, I never had a dream of being an Italian rugby player, but when he said that, my eyes just lit up. I go, wow, I've got an opportunity to, one, look after my family, two, go overseas,
play international sport,
and then three, play rugby, which I love.
Yeah.
And I was happy to leave New Zealand when I was 21. The reason for that, I gave New Zealand rugby an opportunity, so I was waking up at 5:30 in the morning, going to the gym, working as a builder from 7 till 5, go and play my club rugby in the rain. And when I left New Zealand, I made some good teams, but at a young age, I thought of doing something different. And then an opportunity to get fast-tracked to the Italian national team, and also being involved in the Six Nations. And in New Zealand, we've got some coverage of the Six Nations, and I love seeing the European rugby with Wales and England, the big stadiums and the passionate rugby supporters. And I just felt it was something different, an opportunity to represent my Italian family.
And that was the start of the career then, so it was 50 caps?
56.
56 caps,
yeah.
Six Nations, World Cups?
Yeah, 2 World Cups in Australia and France. So my journey, so when I first arrived, I did the 35-hour flight from Wellington all the way to Bologna, and just 1 hour south of Milano. And I got picked up by one of the guys, Antonio, and I still remember really how quick that transition was from going from New Zealand to Italy, but just saw the driving on the other side of the road, speaking Italian, the fast cars, the beautiful woman, just everything that was just so different from New Zealand. And then I was an hour travel from Bologna to Viadana, the club that I signed for, and so we're in the car journey. He spoke no English, I spoke no Italian. And we sort of went about, the conversation was going, Kiwi music? Yeah, music. You like ue due? Ue due? What's ue due? Play me ue due. So boom, puts in the CD of Oe Due. Hey, Tonio, this ain't Oe Due, this is you too. He goes, yeah, you too. Okay. And then he goes, you like Kili Minogue? What? Kili Minogue? I go, oh, yeah, put on Kili Minogue. This ain't Kili Minogue, it's Kylie Minogue. So all of a sudden I was going, wow, I just had to start looking to speak Italian, learn different interpretations.
Was that when you started to speak Italian then, other than you hearing your grandparents? When you moved there to play rugby, that was the start of you learning Italian?
Correct, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Correct, yeah. So I signed for a club called Viadana, which was in the Super 10. They had quite a few foreigners, Kiwis, Argentinians that they translated a lot of the stuff for me, but my first real step to speaking Italian, and when it was forced upon me, was when, after only being in Italy for 3 months, I made the national team.
Yeah.
So when I had to learn the national anthem, so the Italian rugby team is, out of all the sports in Italy, the Italian rugby team really sing the national team with a lot of pride and a lot of passion.
You see it in the football, don't you? The certain teams passionately know every word.
Yeah, and then I didn't. The first only been in Italy, I sort of mouthed it, sort of voiced over the national anthem, but I got heavily abused. For one, because my last name's Italian, and they thought I was Italian, and then two, not knowing the national anthem. So I had to learn pretty quickly. Back in those days, and there was no sort of internet that was able to help you out. So it was just a lot of. The good thing, I guess, for the Italians is everything's just based around food. So you're sitting down for 3 hours. Yeah. In the rugby environment, probably 1 hour for lunch and 1 hour for dinner. But they're just so passionate about life.
And that's your opportunity to learn.
To learn, yeah. So they'll pick up a piece of... So questa, what is it? Libro. Questa libro, or forchetta, fork, coltello, knife. And they just learn the past tense, present tense. But as long as I made an effort... You know, like I was trying to make an effort to learn Italian. They really appreciate that. Yeah. And that would help me. A lot of foreigners come over there and they think I was the English way or the New Zealand way. They try to adapt. Or I, sort of young age, I was, green, wanted to learn, about my Italian culture because I was Italian. And then second, I got me an opportunity to learn more about them. Yeah. Learn more about the Italian people, how they think, which I think... is probably when it comes to traveling, getting to know someone's culture, getting to know someone's how they think is a beautiful thing because you get to understand them more as people.
Absolutely. If only more people in the world did that right now, eh?
Yeah, I guess that's when you come to the UAE, it's we don't get sort of the culture embraced on us. We're quite lucky to come live in an expat world, a society in our bubble, but living in Abu Dhabi working in Abu Dhabi, working with the Sports Council, I've really enjoyed working with a bit more of Emiratis and learning more about their culture and how they think and how appreciative they are of the expats coming over here to sort of help and improve.
Have you ever reflected then on what skills or tools did you have when you left New Zealand at 20, which back in the 90s, probably you're a young adult, but right now we'd look at that as quite young, to move countries and start a new life or a new career. What skills did you have then, or what have you reflected on what your school life or what your young life and your upbringing give you that allowed you to succeed? Yeah. Because from knowing you, Aaron, and working with you and listening to you speak, the humility rings through. Yeah. So your ability to be humble and engage with people and like you just said, put yourself in their shoes and understand that for one, the Italians are passionate, and if you're not hitting every syllable on that national anthem, you need to fix that.
I guess for me, I sort of had a dream, to become a professional player. So what that looked like was just trying to have a go at everything and having a dream that I know I wanted to work pretty hard for. From my schooling, I just knew that...
was it strict? Was your school strict? Would you say it was strict?
It was. Always had a lot of traditions and strict, Like before, back in the days we had the cane.
Yeah, okay.
It's the cane, so... used to be touch your toes and bang, you get
Yeah.
2 whips of the cane. So, and some teachers did it harder than others.
Yeah.
So that was sort of the old school way of the upbringing. But I just knew I was lucky to get enrolled in a pretty important school,
Yeah.
and my mum worked pretty hard to get to allow us to go to school. So I wanted to make sure I didn't let them down.
Yeah.
I was no scholar. You know, I was no scholar at school.
Yeah.
So, you know, school was literally, I found it pretty hard at school to just get past my grades. But at the same time, I saw other students around me,
Yeah.
you know, that they were very determined to go to university.
Yeah.
They were, my other peers were going to university. I wasn't going to university.
You found your thing on the sports fields.
Yeah, I found that, I said, what am I good at? Am I good at rugby? I'm okay, but I love it. You know, I want to keep working towards that. But I guess my other friends within my rugby group, they were all going to university, and they sort of knew what career they were going down.
Yeah.
I couldn't go down like to being a lawyer or going to be an accountant, because I wasn't just hitting the grades. But what it did teach me is, like, I've got an opportunity here, and I've got a dream that I want to, you know, once in a lifetime opportunity to play professional rugby overseas.
Yeah.
Once in a lifetime to enter a nation where it's just qualified for the Six Nations.
Yeah.
So rugby in Italy was going for semi-professional to fully professional. Just the fact that they've qualified for the Six Nations, and they're in a program now that they're playing 5 important test matches. So timing-wise, I was quite lucky to enter the Italian system. So
you've got an eye for opportunity, haven't you, Aaron? I just want to take it back and touch on something you said there, which I think that the kids in the UAE, the teenagers in the UAE could relate to and should relate to, is that you were aware you were given an opportunity to join a good school, and you didn't want to let your mum down. That was the word you used. So for the kids in the UAE, parents are paying the fees.
Correct.
And it is actually a tactic I've used with students I've taught before, is to remind them that if they waste time for poor behaviour or whatever it may be, it's actually wasting the parents' money.
Yeah.
And that link, and making that link that they are, I wouldn't say privileged, but they've got an opportunity, like you've just said there. And then you've continued in that vein, because you spotted the opportunity to go to Italy. You spotted the opportunity with an up-and-coming international team, and you've went on from there. Yeah,
and just having that mindset and that goal setting, I guess.
Yeah.
So I went to Italy with nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And the reason for that, I know, like, we didn't work out, I was going back to New Zealand to join the police force.
Yeah.
So I just gave it everything.
Yeah.
So what did that look like? Just arriving to training early, asking the coach, you know, what do I need to do? How can I do it?
Yeah.
And the fact that I was a fully professional athlete, and I experienced what it was like to work 50 hours a week, playing rugby, going to the gym at 5:30, trying to do your nutrition, trying to enjoy yourself as a young 20-year-old man. I had that work ethic, and when I came to Italy, in Italian having the 3-hour siesta, you know, I just had to adapt, but also just learn my work ethic, my upbringing of, you know, working hard for everything, and having that discipline to being the first one to training, last one to training, constantly learning new skills, constantly having a good relationship with the coach, sort of just helped me with my ways. And like I said, I having those 2 goals at an early age of trying to be a professional rugby player, trying to be a police officer, gave me a lot of reassurance of where I was going.
It's not rocket science, is it? I've spoke to many people who've reached high levels in elite sport, and it's just the basics. It's just work hard, be coachable, turn up on time, develop a good relationship with the coach, and so on, and then the rest will follow. I think, again, that's a brilliant topic, a brilliant subject, a brilliant thing that kids should hear. Anyone who's striving to reach the higher levels, get the basics right, and be coachable.
Yeah, totally. That relationship with the coach, and like you said, in sport in general, you know, it's there's a lot of opportunities now with kids seeing the spotlight now in professional sports, especially how much money they're getting paid. But at the end of the day, it's all about controlling yourself, you know, and just the execution of your skills, not always trying to score a goal or trying to score a try. It's about you just nailing your skill set, understanding your skill sets, and just making sure you've got that relationship with your coach of what your job is or what you need to do is clear, and you don't have to go into a game with trying to do X, Y, and Z. You can do in the game of just doing the ABCs. Yeah. So that comes with experience. So I was quite lucky, between nerves and playing my first 15 rugby at being 16 and 17 and been in front of 3,000 people and the importance of winning for your school. So I got that through experience. So I think for a lot of kids, if they are nervous, or you got to put yourself in those positions to play those big games. If you want to be in those under 16 games, or playing for your school, playing for your club, making the final, the DESA finals, and the more you can do that as a kid and be in those scenarios, or be in a swim gala, the better you're going to become as an athlete, and the more experience you're mentally going to have to be able to grow as a player when it comes to those big games.
And go to the next level. Yeah. Right, let's, without going over the career too much, without moving past all of those great things that you've done in rugby, let's get to where you are now, coaching the Small Blacks Abu Dhabi and the UAE National Team. So first of all, start with the Small Blacks in Abu Dhabi. How did that come about? What's the aims of it? What you're trying to achieve with that? Is it a case of it's an off-the-shelf program from New Zealand brought into Abu Dhabi? And what does rugby look like in the UAE? Because I know you've been pretty integral in your time here in helping grow that and shape that. So let's start with the Small Blacks Abu Dhabi. Tell me about that.
You just recently finished 3 years there. So moved to Abu Dhabi during COVID through an opportunity with my wife, getting a job in Abu Dhabi, and had some connections and friends, but got offered to set up a rugby club through the Abu Dhabi Cricket Stadium and Abu Dhabi Sports Council. And one of the reasons they wanted to set up a rugby club is the Abu Dhabi Sports Council had a passion for New Zealand rugby. And the Abu Dhabi Sports Council have got 4 passions. One, Man City, which they're heavily involved with, the Formula One, the golf, and the All Blacks. They don't know nothing about rugby, but they just love the legacy, the values of the All Blacks.
What in particular then? What attracts them to the All Blacks? Is this something you've had, a discussion you've had with the Sports Council? Why the All Blacks?
So when the New Zealand Rugby Sevens teams come out here to play the Dubai Sevens, they come a week earlier to base themselves in Abu Dhabi, where they do a training camp. They get to meet the Sports Council. So it is often the week of the Formula One as well. So it's a good time of the year to be out here, and they just love their sports, how they do sports in terms of their sportsmanship, their work ethic, how they come together through song, through dance, through the haka. Everyone is very humble, everyone's very welcoming, everybody's included. So, and just how successful they have been as a team. And I guess if you look at New Zealand, it's a country of 5 million people, not much resources, not much financial support, but however they seem to always be ahead of the game. So the coaches are really innovative, but at the same time they keep things pretty simple. So the Sports Council has had a relationship through that, and it's been the help of some Kiwis inside the Abu Dhabi's cricket stadium. So that connection has been strong for the last 5 years. So they wanted to have a connection with New Zealand rugby, and there is ongoing talks of potential All Black games to be played in Abu Dhabi next season, and we're having a 3-year partnership, similar to what Argentina have come out here and played games in Abu Dhabi. So I guess the mindset, Dubai is heavily involved in tourism, and Abu Dhabi are trying to put themselves on the map through sporting events. So hence why they're trying to come together with.
Trying to align with the big successful brands.
Create like the NBA,
NBA, Formula One, All Blacks.
All Blacks, correct. So that's been so we're called Small Blacks. So we've got a junior program partnership where we make sure our programming is aligned with New Zealand rugby.
Yeah.
So a lot of the values of us is participation, making sure the kids are engaged. It's a positive session with a lot of positive praise. That they're constantly learning through repetition. So that's a big one for me. That we are development been coming down to our Abu Dhabi kids. We're not New Zealand kids, we're Abu Dhabi kids. We've got kids new to rugby, kids from different backgrounds. So I have to tweak that to sort of what's best for our program.
You might be introducing kids to rugby. Correct. Is what you're saying. They might be coming to you and they've never played.
They never played.
Never caught. Just the ball, kick the ball. Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So how do we go about coaching that? How can we provide a program that help best suit that? We're open and encouraging kids new to rugby to come into our program. So I sort of, so we are going back to your question. So we've been established for 3 years now, and we've just completed the season with 366 kids.
Playing rugby.
So, but majority, so over those 366 kids, there's probably about 150 of those kids new to rugby. And especially in our girls sector, the girls program has probably seen our biggest increase. But I sort of oversee our coaching program, making sure that our philosophies and participation developments, and it's create a positive environment. So with the repetition space, development space, how can kids learn? Is it me screaming and shouting, or is you learning through action? So I make sure I call it our 80-20 philosophy. So it's 80% is learning through movement with ball in hand, and it's 20% the coach is talking. So I often go around and see other sports, how it's being coached. It's just too much of the coach talking. So that might be an example where we've got passing waves. And one thing I dislike is just seeing multiple kids just waiting and stand by, not touching the ball. I said, let's split that group up, do the same passing waves, but split the group up. And just kids are moving, they're moving ball in hand. Practice. It's so hard with rugby being a big, you get sort of thrown in the deep end when you're coaching 20 kids and the kids are static. So I really are hard on my coaches that, when I come and see your session, I want to see the kids moving. I want to see the kids are ball in hand. If you want extra equipment, I'll give you extra equipment, but let's see the kids moving. Yeah.
You sound like a director of sport or head of PE. I think the 80-20, I completely agree with that. Maybe push for 90-10 in some circumstances, depending on the time of the session. One question I'd like to ask on the small blacks is there an approach where you try to develop the person? Obviously, you are dealing with a brand, the All Blacks, which is renowned for great men playing the game the right way, utter respect, officials, opponents, for each other, and fighting for the jersey and all of that brings. How do you bring that into the program where you're developing young rugby players? What do you like to see from the players and the kids when they're not playing the game? They're interacting around the water cooler, or they're having a drink. How do you instill all the values?
Coming from a club, that importance of them, that club and school environment. So I have got a pretty good relationship with a lot of the schools in Abu Dhabi. I go into schools and coach them, and making sure that I get to spend time and get to know my kids. And we often talk about the kids, making sure they're turn up to school, completing their grades, being there on time, being on task, being there early, whether it's early for rugby or early for school. And making sure that academics do come first. So if a kid has to miss a training session, if they have to prepare for an important exam, we'll support that as long as they communicate that to us. But also being a role model within the classroom, leading by example, helping out your teammates, just how you present yourself, how you talk, and also always welcoming new people. So as rugby players, we might be a little bit bigger, we might be a little bit more boisterous, but at the same time, you're approachable, you're respectful for your parents, you're respectful for your teachers, and if you do that, your teachers will respect you even more. And everybody wants to be surrounded by good people, good sportsmen but they don't like to be surrounded by people that are just arrogant or too cool for school.
I think it's a message when kids hear that from a respected coach.
Yeah.
It sometimes can hit home a bit more than maybe from the parents or a class teacher. You know, the things that you're saying about be on time, respect your teachers, etc. I think sometimes when teachers and PE teachers and coaches say it, because we've got that relationship, we give them the fun subject. We give them the fun game. So one question I want to ask, and this is a really general question. You've worked at my school leading the rugby, and you've probably reffed or coached on this pitch, and we've had a football match on this pitch. There's obvious differences, and it can be the same players who play football behave differently in football, and then they go to rugby. Why is that? Why do boys, we can have an under 16 boy who plays in the football team on a Monday who will respond differently to a referee's decision, but on a Wednesday playing a rugby match and respond completely differently to a referee's call? Yeah,
it's a good question. I find with the rugby, and it's quite good that most of the rugby coaches or teachers have played the game, so that they understand that we do praise the importance of teamwork. So what does that look like? If you, for example, scored a try, I'm not praising you. I'm praising the guy that tackled the person or won the ruck, was the first one to make the pass.
Three plays back.
three plays back, but what set that up? I guess with football, there's a lot of exposure for that person scoring the goal, individual score. Then everyone's trying to play or make a play for you to set up a goal. But I guess with rugby, it is a lot of physicality, and to be on the pitch, you have to be mentally, physically prepared. You forget the importance of the mental game. Sometimes tackling somebody that's twice your size. So I think when people start getting a few knocks and a few bumps and bruises, and the fact that I guess the most important thing is just how you talk to referees. It's a bit of a zero tolerance with you answering back. Where I find with football you can get away. There's a bit of a grey area you can get away with hand gestures or challenging the referee, but you just can't say any words, and everything sort of is transferred through your captain. So normally, for example, under 16, you would have a pretty good captain, so a pretty good leader, and that captain is talking to the players and taking the leadership. So I think overall it comes down to the coach who's played the game, he's set up the team, and he's installed the values, and then the captain as well.
It's really interesting that you've said that. I've not thought of it that way. That I think the ego thing in football is true. They all want to dribble and score, and it's about them. If there's a foul, it's a personal attack on them. But the point you made about it, the mental side, rugby players and players who play rugby, kids who play rugby, go on the field knowing they're going to get hit. Maybe that does have some impact when a referee makes a call. It's not as bad as maybe what a footballer might think, because they just took a whack 2 minutes ago. But no, thanks for that, because that's a question I do. Football coaches and referees have probably got a more difficult job right now because of the culture of the game. What we're seeing on TV.
Correct.
We're seeing managers, pundits criticise referees, and they've probably made it harder for themselves with VAR, complicating it. But I watch rugby and I just think the respect levels are different, and it's probably what we should aim to get in football, but it's not going to be an easy win. Is it?
And I guess with football, it's played over so many diverse cultures. And but it's right, it starts from the top, with people watching on TV. That's where kids get inspired by, and if the good players around the world are doing it, so the kids are going to do it.
So let's get back to the Small Blacks. How many coaches are you leading?
So we sort of have a player to coach ratio of about 1 to 10, a little bit bigger in the older age groups, secondary age groups, which is 1 to 14. So overall, we're about 26 coaches, which are predominantly teachers. So 80% are teachers, and I have got some really good parent coaches who have earned their stripes, and they're great coaches and give great energy to the club. So I know that we play a lot of games in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or in Al Ain. I know wherever we are in the UAE, I can give a lot of trust and faith to a coach to go and deliver and make sure that they can run a good show and make sure the kids are coached properly and taken care of.
Yeah, that's something from the outside looking in, I definitely see with the rugby community, dads and lads getting involved. There's actually a football club now in Dubai, the Irish, who've set up, and it's a similar model. I have to actually sign my boy up to it. I think that works. I think it helps build a community because you've got invested people. You've got it's the fathers.
Yeah.
But as you said, if they've earned the stripes, so what are the stripes then? What are the non-negotiables, Aaron? If I was to come down and want to coach for you, what are the non-negotiables for your coaches that would allow you to trust them to take teams out under the Small Blacks name and play? Yeah,
and I think there is a bit of a difference sometimes between a paid teacher coach and a parent coach, and I guess the obvious reason is most of the parents' coaches' kids are in that team, and they've got more of a care and a passion for it, but if the parent coach is knowledgeable and knows how to coach, that goes a long way. So one of our key philosophies or policies within our club, I've mentioned the 80-20, making sure that everyone gets, so we're a participation club, so everyone gets half a game. That it's most of our training sessions, there's progressions. So for example, I would help design a lesson and making sure that within that lesson, so if we were doing handling, for example, handling, there was static catching and passing, there was decision making, and then you apply what you've learned into a game. So with the game of rugby, there's so many decisions you have to make. We just make sure it's been coached in that way. But prior going into that big picture game, you're going into small detail, smaller pictures. So that's one of our, so just breaking it down is being able to coach where there's allowing progressions or regressions if they can't quite get there. Secondly, participation. And then thirdly, it's an 80-20 philosophy.
Why do you say participation? What's the alternative? Is it elitism?
Because we're a community. We're not a performance club. Our values and ethos is we're participation. So if you're new to rugby, we've got to find a team or a system or a coach that's going to be good enough to coach those group of boys. So the good thing about rugby, just in general, most rugby clubs now, there are a lot of players in each age group. For example, under 14s, there might be an A division, a development division. So it's really important that we don't put a kid new to rugby in the A division. We put him in that development where he's able to participate in the same level and play against other teams in that same sort of space. I would often tell a coach or a parent, if there's someone on the sideline not getting, I don't want us to get an outcome, get a win with this player on the sideline. A parent who's paid his subs, registration fees, he's not valued some of the other ones. He's got to get on. It is sometimes harder for the players they're pretty good. They're sort of playing with a player that's new to rugby, but we from the outset, from the start, we make sure we're encouraging new players into the group, into the culture, that they feel welcome, they feel loved.
I really like that. I think that if more clubs, not just rugby, adopted that approach, I think youth sport would be in a better place. Winning doesn't matter at this age group. At certain age groups anyway, as you get older maybe more so, but I think that approach, and I think it was one of your values, like participation. We are a participation club. Communicate that to parents. This is what you're signing up for.
Yeah, correct.
And it makes those conversations slightly easier. Because you told them.
Yeah, and I guess some clubs are run like the businesses. It is a pretty pretty competitive market out there.
And winning sells.
But I think if your team is organised, it's transparent. The communication is transparent. We've got a new kid new to rugby. He's going to play. We're going to help him out. We welcome him. So just your communication will be transparent to the players. It's not rocking up or you're changing a system or you're changing a process and it's not new to the players. You just got to make sure your values installed in all your coaching, all your trainings. Everybody's aware of what we're trying to achieve. And if they don't like it, you can potentially just say you're not welcomed. This is what our club's about.
Right, let's make sure we cover the UAE national team, because not only have you been integral in school programs in Dubai, you're supporting schools in Abu Dhabi, you are bringing over the number one rugby brand, let's call it a brand, in the All Blacks Abu Dhabi down the road, but you're also now involved with the UAE national team. So hats off to you from going from the day job, maybe teaching 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, learning to catch, to the UAE national team. How do you find that mix of roles?
Yeah, it's challenging, the fact that it's a different language, different way of managing players.
Different language, so do you have to have a translator? Is it?
No, the different, just how you interpret, the rugby terminology.
I was going to say, okay.
The different, and the beautiful thing, like even though, for example, we've just finished a long season and then been thrown into another 6-week campaign to be involved with the Asia Rugby Championship, I was a bit hesitant to be, so if I wanted to commit to it, I wanted to give it 100%.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're training at the Sevens desk in Abu Dhabi as well as commute. But I spoke to my wife about it, and an opportunity to learn as well.
Another opportunity for Aaron.
Yeah, another opportunity.
You don't say no to them.
No to them, but you got that family, that family decision. You're cutting family time away.
Two little ones now as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but as an opportunity that I've really enjoyed as the other coaches I coach with.
Yeah.
So I'm quite fortunate that Paulo Perolini, who's been out here in the UAE for over 10 years, is doing amazing things in the community, the UAE national teams in his own rugby academy. Having his guidance, having his experience. Jacques Bernard from Dubai College and Durant Gerba from desk.
Is there any Emiratis in the team? Is it all?
Yeah, we've got Majid. So we try and embrace that. We've got Yusuf, who's one of our managers. But this time last year we went to Pakistan on a 1-week tour and played 2 test matches in Pakistan, which was a great experience. So overall, it's been good to coach players that really want it.
Yeah.
They really want to play for the national team. Yeah. They really want to be the best they can be, and they really want to, push UAE rugby to another level. So at the moment, there's some really exciting opportunities. So we've just completed the Asia Rugby Championship, which we finished second. Played against Hong Kong in Hong Kong, which is an awesome opportunity to come across a semi-professional team. Their setup. Then to play home against Korea and Malaysia, playing in front of our home crowd, our families and community, and getting a really good response. Playing in 35 degrees at the Sevens, but it's
Dubai for you.
It's Dubai, but the fair play, the community came out and supported us. So it's been a really good learning experience. Really good to be involved as a coach. In the international space. I was there as a player, but now it's me having that mindset. How can I become a better coach? How can I help deliver or help succeed or help deliver and push these players to another level, or innovate or relate back to them and their challenges, is working, their family, they need to get fit. To be an international player, but I don't want to be too hard on them. I want to make sure I give them a cuddle.
And they've got jobs as well. And
they've got jobs, they've got family, they're commuting from Abu Dhabi. They have to commit, go through some tough training sessions because mentally, we're playing catch up. But if we want to get there quick, we've got to get fitter. So I've really enjoyed it, and we've got a meeting tomorrow night for what next season's going to look like. It's really next year, the Asia Rugby Championship, this time next year there'll be 4 teams: UAE, Hong Kong, Korea, Malaysia, and whoever wins that gets automatic qualification to the World Cup in 2027. If you come second, you're going to repechage. So there's never been a big opportunity to change the landscape for rugby in the UAE. And there's some talented players. There's some talented, they all play for different clubs.
We've had some come from the school. Sam Clark.
Sam Clark's also I was messaging Sam the other day, just seeing his career, his journey through rugby post school out here in the UAE, where we've coached him, and I was just sending him a few voice messages, but how we talked, you know, I was just a young adult, you know, just
absolutely.
so mature, so keen, so respectful. So he left King's School, then he went over to play rugby, got an academy contract for Newcastle, and he's got a semi-professional contract for Airline, but he was just so enthusiastic about...
I think back to your story, he represented our school badge with pride.
Correct.
Lovely, humble, hard-working, got the basics right. He was coachable.
Yeah, but if you look at him, he was getting approached by Jess, DC and Desk, you know, to go to those big rugby schools. And why wouldn't you have gone to those rugby schools? But he was just so loyal to his school, his friends. He was learning, he was being a leader. He wasn't winning, but he was going out there giving it everything. And he's still on track to achieve his career in sport and golf. He is, but what he is, that, you know, all the experiences have made him the man he is today. So I was so happy when I spoke to him, you know, and he was so enthusiastic about potentially representing the UAE. So, you know, it's changing, you know.
So that's next then, maybe a former student now. We're all proud of him, so that would be fantastic to see.
Oh, another student have to get in contact with Finn Newton.
Yeah,
he's just got a Toulouse contract.
Oh, right, okay.
And what a player he was.
Yeah, there we go. Name dropped for some of the students there from my school. Aaron, listen, that's been really insightful, first and foremost, but really nice to hear your story and all of the great things you're doing for rugby in the UAE. I think you mentioned Apollo Pellegrini, who's done fantastic things for rugby here. And I'd put yourself in that bracket now with what you're doing with the Small Blacks and what you're doing with the UAE National Team and the legacy you left on my school and school rugby where I am. So thank you very much. We look forward to seeing what's next. Wish you the best of luck. I'd love to do this again, maybe in a year or so, and see how the UAE National Team's got on and how the Small Blacks is progressing. Thank you very much.
No, shukran. Cheers, Jay, and I'm looking forward to seeing you next year.
Thank you, mate.